Hello everyone, my name is Vicky DeRosa and welcome to All About Health. Well, I am here with Ariela Sarai, and it was so interesting the last show that I did with her. I had to bring her back because I have so many more questions, and I think she has so much more to tell us about avatar training. So I would like to start the show off by, if you wouldn't mind, could you show the book again? Mm-hmm. And also perhaps I'd like to let the viewers know how they can find out more about you, what else they can do, and then if it's okay after you do that, we ran out of time, so I'd like to talk about what the 9 days actually entail.
Okay.
So why don't you show the book again?
Okay, here's the book. This is written by Harry Palmer. It's an awesome book that describes about the Avatar course, but also really talks about consciousness and the journey of being human, and it's got a ton of very valuable information. It is available on Amazon, so
okay.
It's widely available. It is called The Avatar Path, The Way We Came.
Okay.
And it's brand new. It came out, I think, a couple weeks ago.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it just came out.
And so if someone, would it be okay if we gave your information, if someone wanted to do a free session with you? Is that all right with you?
Yeah,
why don't you go ahead and
absolutely.
do that then, please?
Okay, so if anybody is interested in what I'm sharing here about the Avatar course, I offer a free session over the phone, and it could be just a chat to learn more, or it can actually be a free introduction to Avatar where we do some work over the phone.
Okay.
Or in person if somebody lives in Connecticut. So my website is www.powerofavatar.com. That's AVATAR. And my phone number is 203-249-5203.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now it was so interesting to me, and I have so many more questions,
Mm-hmm.
but we were talking about the 9-day avatar training, where we talked about stuck attention.
Yeah.
And just take us through the 9 days so that people really understand, if they are interested in learning more and perhaps coming to this, what they would be confronted with.
Okay. So the first thing is, it's a very non-judgmental environment. So people should be free to be very comfortable and be themselves. And the first thing that we do is you go with a master that you've connected with. So it's very supportive, it's very one-on-one, and you learn about the basic components of how your mind is working. So in fact, I have this great quote from a student of mine recently on a course. He said to me, "Oh, wow, this is like getting the operating manual for your own mind." I thought that was great. So in the beginning, you learn about the components of your mind, like what is attention? Everybody says whatever you focus your attention on, you're making more real. Okay, so what is your attention and how do you focus it? So you learn that.
Right, so people say whatever you focus your attention is what you make real.
Exactly.
So okay, so truly it does kind of incorporate the law of attraction, cognitive therapy, positive thinking. It takes all of those and teaches you how to, using all the tools, I guess, that Avatar shows you,
Mm-hmm.
how to create positive outcomes in your life? Would that be accurate?
That would be how to create positive outcomes in your life, and I like to add how to actually enjoy them. Because you're present to them, you're able to fully experience and receive them, and you have a commitment to integrity and kindness, so you feel good about yourself.
So do you kick out the evil ones? I'm just kidding.
Well, the evil creations, the evil people. No. What did you mean by that?
Well, actually, no. Let me turn it into a real question.
Yeah.
What if people come, which I guess wouldn't really be. It doesn't follow that you would get a lot of people who are very negative or
No.
mean-spirited. They probably would not be steered. The law of attraction, I guess, doesn't work that way. They
Right.
wouldn't come to Avatar training.
No, it
Okay.
wouldn't be a good match. It wouldn't
Yeah.
be something that they'd be interested in, or that an avatar master would be interested in, pursuing that they come. It's just it's very natural that it happens that people
Yeah.
who want this work have
Are usually-
good intentions and are interested in moving forward in a positive way.
Okay.
All right, so you learn, and then, like, for example, another thing you learn about is the will. And I like to say, like you said in the earlier show, the will is kind of like a muscle. And a lot of us are walking around with a very weak will.
Mm-hmm.
And by that, I mean, pretty much we feel like our mind is running us, and then every once in a while, we're able to steer it or make some deliberate choices. And then, maybe a good part of our day we're being deliberate, but then there are just these times where, we're thinking things we don't want to be thinking, or we're eating things we don't want to be eating, and we just really don't know what to do about it. So that's a symptom of not having a strong enough will.
Oh, wait, you touched on something that I'm kind of curious about for a second. If you don't mind, can I just ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
You mentioned eating something that you don't. Do people find that this kind of training helps them become healthier? Helps them lose weight? Really?
Well, if that's what their intention is, absolutely.
Okay.
Because I would say what it does is it helps people become more deliberate. So if you're eating deliberately, you're going to feel healthier. You're going to educate yourself on the best diet. Now, Avatar doesn't talk about diet
Okay.
or eating specifically. But, for example, the exercise I gave before, the releasing fixed attention, let's say you are upset because you're overeating and you don't want to be. You could apply that
Oh, that's
issue to
interesting.
the
Okay.
exercise.
Okay.
So all the exercises are what I call blank, in the sense that they're a general exercise that will help you have an insight in some way. But you would bring your own issue in that moment to that exercise, and the person next to you might be bringing something totally different. So each person, it's like very individualized in that sense. So somebody certainly could come and focus on their health and get tremendous insight on that, but not with specific recommendations.
I'm just curious because of my own issue with my with the genetic disease that I have. Have you? And if you don't want to answer this, it's quite all right. Have you seen people make changes with their health? For instance, a disease or
Huge changes.
really?
Huge changes. I mean, this almost sounds like too much, but we had a person who came and she was in a wheelchair because she had a lot of difficulty walking, and then by the end was walking up, fully able to walk. I mean,
Really?
people are able to heal. I mean, I think what I find is that people are either able to heal using the Avatar tools, or they attract whatever medical
I understand that. Sure.
health or healing that they need as a result of clearing their intentions. So it's not that there's miracles necessarily. I mean, I have seen incredible stuff.
Okay. How is this similar to? I'm sure everybody knows about that book, The Secret.
Yeah.
How is it different or similar to that book?
Well, it's the how-to.
Okay.
It's really the how-to. So that's so moving on. So the first 2 days, you're
Okay.
understanding what is a belief, what are my beliefs. I mean, I find that it's really true that people want to be positive, but people don't want to really necessarily let go of their negativity until they understand why they created it, why it's there. I mean, there's a reason. You want to understand your past in your mind. So in the beginning, you get to know yourself and how you got created and how your mind is working. Then on day 3, it's the presence piece where you realize you are more than your mind. You're so much more than your mind. And you awaken that awareness, okay? And then here's the part that's similar to The Secret. After that, you take time to repattern your consciousness. So everybody's had years and years of repeating the same thoughts, which is why they have so much energy and so much influence in our lives. It's not an isolated thought that has power. It's the repetitive thoughts that keep creating what we want or what we don't want. I just want to give a small example of that. I feel like a belief acts almost like a filter. So if you're just in your total awareness, you're not operating from any particular belief. Then let's say you have a belief that it's hard to make money, and you have a lot of evidence for that. It's kind of like we put that belief on, and then we see the world through that filter. So we attract evidence. Every belief we hold attracts evidence to verify it. And then we go, see, it is hard to make money. The economy's this way, I'm this age, I only have these skills, I keep getting turned down. The interesting thing is that it's only the belief that's attracting that evidence. And when we take that filter off, put a new belief on, we attract totally new evidence.
Interesting.
So in the next part of the course, we actually learn how to let go of those negative belief filters, really let go of them, and then replace them with deliberate positive beliefs that are real.
And how do they do that? Is it group sessions? Is it readings? Is it how do they take you through letting go of those beliefs?
It's an exercise that you learn that you repeat, because repetition is really important in this phase of the course.
Okay.
So you learn, first of all, you read about the concept so you really get it, and then you have a specific exercise, which if I share, it's not something I could share right now
sure,
on the air. It's just by the time you build up to it, it really makes sense.
Okay.
And then you practice over and over with one partner, starting out with a master and then moving on to students, so that you are able to fully let go of those beliefs and replace them with positive beliefs. So you learn that skill. And then you can, not only do you have a new baseline when you're done, but then you practice that in your life. When you want to create a deliberate mental state or something new in your life, it's kind of like learning to magnetize your attention to attract what you want. So it's not just a thought. It's on a deeper level. It's a belief which has energy to it.
Sure.
You have to embody it, not just sit here and think, oh, okay, well, sure, I can make money. Well, if it's just a thought and it's sitting on top of a lot of fear and doubt, it doesn't really have much power.
I understand.
Yeah.
So, okay, and then at the end, is that the whole?
No, that would be the middle part.
Okay.
And then also in the middle part, we look at the role of judgments, and how in Avatar we talk about how judgments are really what cause our experience to be painful. And we really explore that and learn how to let go of judgments, because it's amazing when you say something is, this way or that way, or this is so bad, or this shouldn't be happening. It can take you from positive to negative in a split second.
Give me an example.
Well, like we were sharing just before, let's say a salesperson going into a meeting, and they're really hoping that the person wants what they're offering. And then they go in and they go, oh, God, this company's not ready, right? It's a split-second thought. It's a judgment. But that judgment actually has the power to take that person's attention totally off the original goal and divert them into fear or negativity. And it's just a simple judgment. So in Avatar, we really break that process down so people understand how that's working, and they know how to release their judgments so that they can stay focused on the goal and not get sidetracked by their own judgments.
And so explain to everyone, so that, because I think I understand what you're saying, but I want to make sure the viewers understand. So saying something before you walk into a meeting, how is that going to affect the outcome of the meeting?
Well,
it affects, it turns you into a fearful person, or it creates the wrong energy in the environment? Is that how?
Well, I think it depends on the person. For example, I know you're a very positive person. So if you had a fleeting negative thought, I don't know if it would have that much of an impact because you could easily shift yourself back to your goal. It depends on the person. If somebody then has that thought and walks in, what we say in Avatar, broadcasting that thought, sort of assuming that that's true and trying to pretend it's not there or convince the person around it because, you know, they're trying, I mean, if it's sitting there, it could have an impact on the meeting. I mean, I don't really know. It would depend on how strongly the person's holding it.
Yeah.
And of course, on the intention of the person who they're trying to sell something to. If the person knows they want it, the thought may not have that much of an effect. But the point is that if we are having judgments, it does affect our energy. It does take away from having our full attention on the goal. And I really believe that when we have our full attention on the positive goal, we have a much greater chance of then fulfilling that goal. So it's important that we have control over our own minds and our own judgments.
Do you want to know what I do if I have a negative thought?
I would love to.
I actually, in my head, say to myself, stop, and then I just focus on something else. Because, or I've heard of many people who, I actually read something the other day of someone who actually says to themselves, next, you know. I like next, but I guess as long as, I guess that's what maybe Avatar training teaches people, how to quickly move. I mean, we're human. We will all have, at some point, a negative thought or a fear or a worry. It happens. I think the goal is to learn how to quickly move from the negative into a positive thought. For me, it helps to just say stop. And then I remember, focus on something positive quickly. And that works for me. But I guess different things would work for different people.
It depends on the person. Everybody's made up differently, and some people can move forward quickly. Some need a technique to do it. But yeah, that's the basic principle. That, yeah, I think that's a really good point too, Vicky. It's not that people come back from Avatar and then they're just like perfectly in bliss and everything always flows. I mean, I wish. I don't know of anything. If anybody knows of anything like that, you know, email me. But it really, it's cool because you get to still learn your life lessons, but what you get is you get to move through them in the moment with these amazing tools so that you don't get stuck. You feel what you're feeling, you learn what you learn, and then you move forward and you really create what you want. It's not that you never get stuck, but you can get out of it right away. And that's the coolest thing.
It sounds like this would really be helpful for people that suffer from depression. And I'm you know, as you can probably guess, I'm not big on medications. I know that there's no option sometimes, and I understand that. But it seems like it's a great route to try if someone is suffering from depression, right? I mean, it's...
Absolutely.
And do you find that it helps people get through depression? Have you found... I don't know if you have any statistics. If you do, that would be great. But you're it's probably very... That's all right.
I'm not really a numbers person.
No,
but I mean, actually, the truth is, from my personal experience, I started out with depression.
Really?
Yeah, even as a therapist and everything. And so that's what was so cool, is I was able to understand what was causing it and then how to really change it. And so absolutely, I mean, it's so nice to be able to move through that negativity, that suffering.
And do you find, how long ago was that when you...
12 years ago.
12 years. Do you mind if I ask you?
No problem. You can ask me anything.
Do you get anxious now, ever?
Sometimes.
Okay.
I guess maybe not anxious as much as, let's say, as I grow with what I'm doing and I meet my goals, I am growing on a bigger level. So as you know, now I have a radio show. I mean, I'm working with a lot of people. I travel around the country teaching this course, and I have a 15-year-old. And I'm happily married in a house and dogs and a cat. You know, I've got I've created a life that I love. But as I take on more responsibility, you know, I'll find that I'll hit overwhelm or, you know, different states of mind that are not optimal. for
Okay.
functioning. So then, yeah, so I'll hit something, and then I'll use the avatar tools to move through it, and then what I end up with is coming out on a much deeper level. On the other side, I'll just be, more calm in how I handle things, or I'll have insights that will enable me to look at it differently and not be overwhelmed. So that's the type of thing that me personally that I work on now as I grow.
So I guess you would say that you find this training more beneficial than what you did as a psychotherapist. Would that be accurate?
For me, now I think there's a lot of psychotherapists now who are highly trained and doing wonderful work that I was never trained in. So I'm not saying Avatar is better than psychotherapy or than anything.
Okay.
It's just different. It's like for somebody who really wants to study their mind and is interested in how their consciousness is working and wants to go that route, to me it's the best thing for that. But I think that everybody's individual, and people need to find, my recommendation is that people find what they gravitate towards that will help them grow and become who they want to be.
Attraction.
Yeah. Right. And it starts with a decision. Just decide,
Yeah.
I'm doing this, I'm feeling this way, I want to feel better, or I want to create something, and decide to attract what will help you move forward. That's really what it's about, and here's one way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so what else can you tell us about Avatar training that we haven't heard in these 2 shows yet?
Well, I'll finish up with what we do at the end of the 9 days.
Okay. All right.
So,
Are you saying I kept interrupting?
no, I'm saying it's so wonderful because I feel like you're so in tune with me that as I'm saying things, we're able to elaborate instead of just skip over them.
Yeah.
So it's totally wonderful. And the 9 days, at the end, after you've done the repatterning, then you learn this tool where we do what's called discreating.
Discreating. Oh, okay.
Discreating.
Okay.
So that means that you go through this technique that enables you to discover your patterns, old patterns that are not working for you anymore, like limitations, at the root. And this is, by the way, where people clear physical conditions. Because you go to the root of where, when, how they were created, and you learn to discreate them. And it works, in my experience, it's like a cellular level. People release very, very deep stuff, but it's not melodramatic at all. It's all quiet. You don't even have to share out loud what it is, but you learn this process that you take yourself through, and you're guided if you'd like, but you release it, and it's like shutting the light switch off. It's incredible. And then you're able to experience yourself free of these things. It's amazing.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's how we end the course.
Do a lot of people just try to come to the last 2 days?
Well, you know what's so cool
We're
about
a little
that?
busy.
Yeah, right, just go for 2 days. Well, it's funny because everything that you have done in the 7 days prior to that leads up to you being able to do that. Because you can't release something unless you know what it is, unless you're willing to feel it. And, unless you've touched on that awareness of who you really are and you know what you want. So everything it's a journey that builds. And so, it's really, I think people who come, it's amazing to do the whole transformation if they can. And if they want to just start with 2 days, they start with the first 2.
I see. No fast forwarding.
No fast forwarding. If you think about it too, 9 days to completely change your whole life is nothing compared to...
Well, when you put it that way.
Yeah, to completely reset your course, the course of your life from one direction to another. It's pretty good.
Interesting. So, all right, now, do you feel as if we, I and the viewers understand Avatar training? Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you would like to touch on?
Let's see. I think I haven't really talked too much about integrity and compassion.
Okay.
And those are 2 really important components of the Avatar course.
Okay.
So we talk about the importance of being honest with yourself Because if you really want to take charge of your life, you need to know where you really are. And then you also, we talk about how much better it feels to be honest with others and communicate with integrity. And I just love that about the course. And then actually, we have a compassion project that we're doing now, which people can find out about it on Facebook. And the goal is to raise the compassion index on the planet.
Oh, that's fascinating. That's great.
It's really cool.
Wow. And so what, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So all it is, it's very simple. There's a compassion exercise that we do on the weekend workshop of the Avatar course. It's from the Resurfacing workshop. And it's 5 steps. And what you do is you think of someone that you'd like to extend compassion to, and then you read the 5 steps. And for me, it just totally brings me back in my heart and realizing we're all in this together, and really reestablishes the human connection between people. So with the Compassion Project, all we're doing is sharing this exercise with as many people as possible so that in their relationships with their spouses, their children, their friends, their bosses, coworkers, that they're starting from a heart connection. And it's very simple, it's wonderful. I don't know the exact how to access it on Facebook. I'm not such a Facebook person, but if you type in Avatar Compassion Project, there is a Facebook page for it.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
actually on my website, I have the compassion exercise on the website.
Okay.
So people can just read it and share it. It's really wonderful.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
What, anything else that you would like to add? We only have a couple minutes before we close the show, so anything, this is such relevant information and so important. Thank you for sharing it with us. Anything else that you'd like to, one lasting thought?
I think that if anybody's interested, they should check it out. I mean, that's really my last thought.
Okay.
If it resonates, I feel like you've done a great interview. I don't really have anything else to share. Is there anything you want to ask?
I actually know, I feel like I know so much more about the Avatar training than I did, half an hour ago. So thank you for that. I know I'm very interested, and I think the viewers will be very interested in the Avatar training. So
I think I can close with just one thing as a final piece, is that I alluded to this before, but Avatar is a way for each person to maximize their own potential. And that's going to be different for each person. And that potential could mean a spiritual potential, a physical, a world self potential, that's what I call it, like something you want to create in your world, relationship, business. It doesn't matter. And in fact, you can have more than one goal.
well,
But it's about maximizing your own potential, and we support whatever that person's intention is.
well, thank you. That's a great way to close the show. Thank
Great.
you, Ariela.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
joining us
much.
today.
You're welcome.
That's
Thank
all
you.
about health. Thank you very much.